is I see this right here all the time, people using these for weights. And yeah, they're not, bricks really aren't that heavy. They're not really dense. They're not as dense as even Quickcrete when you mix it. So they're not as heavy as Quickcrete. And the big thing I don't like, and I see net fishermen using these. They don't have a lot of weight, but here's the big thing I don't like. That right there. They break, you know. So do I really want to use this for a net weight? Absolutely not. Because if I'd have had my rope tied in that hole right there and it bumps something and breaks, guess what? I don't have a weight anymore. Well, if you're using poly rope, like this rope right here, this rope floats. If you don't have a weight on it, it floats. Well, then guess what's going to happen? Somebody's going to see your stuff, and your stuff's going to probably get stolen. I'm going to do something that's going to help a lot of you out. I always have questions. What do y'all use for your net weights? On your headlines, anchors on your tail lines, and y'all see us a lot of times using these window weights. Well, the problem with these window weights is they're not readily accessible. These come out of old houses. They used to use these a long time ago, and unless you find an old house or go to a scrap yard, sometimes you'll find them at a scrap yard. They're just old cast iron. You can find these, some of those places. But if you don't have them, what do? Well, here's what you do. You turn all your trash into treasure. We're going to turn them into some net weights. You use these for Trotlines. We're going to actually try something I hadn't ever tried before, which is some limb line weights. We've run a little short on limb line weights, and I want to find an easier way than trying to make lead ones. They're pretty expensive if you're buying lead ones. So we're going to try something different in this video on that, and I'll show you how to make those. Now, if y'all see me sweating profusely here, that's because I'm sweating profusely. It was 102 today, and we decided to actually shoot this video tonight because it's so hot this evening. So I'm going to show y'all a few things that I've got here, and really this is stuff that I had laying around my house. It's all trash. And this is going to be the easiest, cheapest way to make you some weights for your trot lines, your nets, your wire nets, slack traps, whatever you need, so you can get your lines down in the water. You're not tied onto the trees, and you don't have your stuff get stolen all the time. So one of the first things that I was going to show y'all is this is just 3-inch PVC pipe. I've got some I've already done to speed up the video, but this is just an old grocery sack. We pulled over the end of it and taped it off. And what we're going to do, we're going to pour this stuff full of Quickcrete. We've got some Quickcrete, and the only thing we bought for this video is that Quickcrete. We bought a 40-pound sack. That was $4.19, and I guarantee you out of that 40-pound sack, we're going to be able to make all of this stuff into weights. We've got an old pop bottle here. That's old Fanta from the orange sherbet we make. We're going to make a heavier weight out of that. And I'm going to tell you, depending on the current, whether we're fishing in the lake, the river, the creeks, depending on the current, that depends on a lot of times how much weight I use. If we have to pull the net open and weight it, something like this, 1 or 2 of these to stretch that net open. But if we're fishing in the river and all we need is just a weight to hold our headline down so we can drag it up, weights like this or this for trot lines and stuff like that's going to work. Got the old red solo cup. That's going to be a pretty easy one to make. I'm going to show y'all how we're going to do that. And I'll show you why I tape up the end of that. You could actually pour this full of concrete, stick an eye bolt or something in the top of it, and that would make the weight. What I like to do though is a lot of times on these cups and stuff is I like the small end where I'm going to tie my rope so it don't get hung in treetops and stuff as bad. So that's why we've got this done like this with the bag over the end. It's just a piece of trash. We're going to actually cut this top out, and after we cut the top out, we'll pour this full of concrete. What we've got for eyes up here, had one of them laying around that I didn't have anything else on. It's just a long eye bolt. So we're going to take one of these like this, pour it full of concrete, stick that eye bolt in there, and you got your weight. We've also got just a scrap U-bolt I had. I left the nuts on it, so when I stick it down in there, there's no way that's going to pull out of this concrete. And here's one of the most important things on this video I'm going to show you. These are just scrap pieces of copper that I took and flattened here so that a bite into the concrete won't pull out because it's wider. And just bend it. It don't have to be perfectly round, because unless you go to bending this back and forth, it won't ever even break. I've had these, I've been using them, still using them to this day, that are like 25, 30 years old. Copper don't ever rust. So anything like chain or anything like that, if you put in here, it may rust over time. This ain't gonna rust. So you can fill this up with concrete, stick this in here, and you got your weight there for a long time. One more thing we're gonna make one out of is the old Chick-fil-A cup. That's God's chicken and God's sweet tea, so it ought to go pretty good for weight for God's country hunting and fishing. We just got the lid on it, and I'll go ahead and show you now. I've got a pair of scissors here. All I'm gonna do is just cut this end off of it right there. This is probably gonna be the easiest one that we make right here. So save your Sonic cups, save your Chick-fil-A cups. We're gonna say Chick-fil-A for God's country hunting and fishing. Got the end cut in it. We're gonna pour that bad boy full of concrete. Drop us one of them right in there, and we got a net weight right there. You know, if you don't have nothing but the old red Solo cups, you know what y'all been doing with them. We eat ice cream out of them. So I know what some of them is doing with them. We're just gonna put the grocery bag over it. I got my electric tape right here. Gonna take it, wrap that electric tape right around there, about 2 or 3 times. Whatever tape you got, just like that. You can cut this excess off if you want. You don't have to. Ain't gonna matter. We cut it off just for the video to show y'all. Good. There, so we got another one of them. Got our scissors here, and we got our top on these. So probably should have put a little more thought into this. I might have to get that started there with these scissors and just cut that top off like that. Working pretty good. Use a pocket knife or whatever. I ain't got my pocket knife on me tonight. So there we go on that one. I know y'all are wondering what in the world you got the Pam over here on the table for. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. Got our old water bottle there. Already got the top cut out of some of them. Them ought to make some good ones. I'm just going to crush that in like that right there. Come right across the end of that with some scissors. These you could just cut and peel off of your concrete if you didn't want it on there. But we're just going to do it about like that right there, and that'll fill up with concrete real easy. Here's the last thing we're going to do is these little cups here. What that is, that's just some inch and a quarter PVC pipe. I just cut it in about some 1.5 inch, 2 inch pieces. And what we're going to make out of that is we're going to try to do some limb line weights and see how they turn out. I'm going to pack a lot into this video, so y'all be patient on that. I'm just taking some masking tape, going over the end of it twice. And the only reason I'm doing that is just to hold the concrete in there. Just taping that down good, so we just cap one end. And then I'm just setting them here, and so they won't move around. And also, so we'll have a hole through the center of them. I'm going to take a nail and drive right through the center. And when we get done and the concrete sets up, we're just going to pull these nails back out. And we're going to try to spray these with Pam. Hopefully we can just push this concrete out of these. If not, we'll take a Sawzall or hacksaw and split this shell off of it. So we got just the concrete pieces, and those ought to make some pretty good limb line weights that we can take and just slide a string through, put our swivel down here, it'll come down, and then we can drop down and put our hooks on it. Hadn't heard of it, just something we're going to try and see how it works out. So all I'm doing is just right dead in the center of those, I'm just taking that, bumping that nail in there just a little bit, where I'll be able to get that nail back out. And I'm going to take this PAM real quick before we get started on mixing the concrete, and I'm just going to go down through there and spray that nail and the insides of that PVC. That's just going to serve as a release agent for us. That's the only reason we had the PAM. These here, the solo cup size weights, these are probably my favorite net weights, because fishing current, now I'm saying for a headline, fishing current like in a river or a creek that's got a lot of current, it don't take much to hold that rope down. You know, you got this poly rope like this and it floats. So we don't want it coming loose. And I'm telling y'all, with this copper in it and these, I've never had one come loose. It'll keep it down. It's light enough. It's a lot lighter than a window weight or something. A window weight gets hung in a treetop. Sometimes you can't hardly get them out. This will pop right up out of there. Now I've got some fiberglass fiber here. I'm not going to take it out of the bag because it'll all come apart. We're going to actually put some of that in our Quikrete. It's going to be like putting fiber in concrete. It'll help hold the concrete together. We're not going to use like reinforcement wire or anything in small cups like this, obviously, but this will help that concrete bind and stay together. All right, we're going to start mixing our Quikrete. I'm going to add just a little bit of water in the bottom of this bucket. Not too much. This is just regular Quikrete. Says high strength. Just what they had, 40-pound bag at the local hardware store. So we'll start adding a little bit of that. We'll probably mix up about half a bag and see how far that gets us. So we get all of it up off the bottom. We'll mix it thick, but we also want to make sure it's workable so we can get it in our little limb line ones and all. Rinse my hands off in there. We're going to get some of this fiber and put in there. All I'm going to do is tear this stuff apart, mix it all in good. Buy this online, or get it sometimes at AutoZone, or maybe a hardware store. You pick this fiberglass fiber up. Of course, you don't want the weave kind, because if you get it, you'd never get the mess apart like this. This here just pulls apart. You might think, well, that's itchy because it's fiberglass. Well, it don't have the fiberglass resin, so it's not itchy. It'll mix in real easy in the concrete, and it's not a problem at all. All right, Chick-fil-A cup first. You can see the fiber in the concrete. Should set up nicely. For that one, we're going to take one of these, and because I mushroomed the end of these, I just crimped them in a vise. You take a hammer and beat them flat, and then this is curved inward. It won't, there's no way that's going to pull out of here once that concrete sets up. You'll just want to kind of move it around like that a little bit, set it in there like so. And then if you hit a limb or something, that limb's just going to hit this and roll right off. Next up, the bigger PVC. Now I didn't cut all these the same size for a reason. Like I said, it depends on how much weight I want to use, depending on where I'm fishing at. You know, this one here will probably be like a net weight to stretch a net open. Basically the same thing as what you'd be doing with a window weight. For this one, we're going to use our eye bolt. right there like so. I can promise you that ain't coming out of there. This size here might make like a good trot line weight or something. Just run that in there like that. Got our old 2 liter here. Fill her up. Shake that down so it gets against the sides real good there. Got our big piece of copper there. We'll work it down in there. It spills over a little bit, that's fine. Not a big deal at all. These are going to be some smaller weights for whatever we need them for headlines, trot lines, whatever. Can't have too many net weights. We got these smaller ones we made. Look at that, that's perfect. Those solo cups here, get them made. Y'all can see the fiber going in there too. It's gonna make for some really strong weights there. These will last, I'm 45, so I guarantee you these will last the rest of my life. You cut that fiber and everything else in there, so when that hardens, those are not coming out. Guaranteed. And y'all be seeing us use these in our upcoming net fishing videos. Now comes the experimental ones. Boy, I hope these work, because if they don't, we could end up with a failure on this video here. But I got a feeling they're gonna work. The idea is that we can pull these pieces of PVC off, or either cut them off, and then we can pull those nails out, so we've got a hole through the center of these concrete weights. They're not going to be extremely heavy, but they should work for weights for limb lines. If these work, we'll be making up a few new limb lines, and I'll show you how we make our limb lines up. Alright, we'll let these set up, let them harden. We'll start taking the covers off, show you how they all turn out. Just taking a pair of channel locks, working that nail out of the board. Pull that nail out of there. Should be good to go. Work those nails out, so we should have a perfect hole all the way through those. Got our little limb line weights here. Remember we sprayed the release agent. Use that PAM on the inside of these pieces of PVC so that would slide out. We'll let those dry today and see how those turn out. Got our solo cup ones here. Just take the bottom bag off of them. Set them down there, and alright, we got a weight. We're gonna get all these plastic off of them. This is just a water bottle. That one actually did pretty good. I like that one. Pretty good weight. That'll be good for like the end of a headline on your nets. There's those weights. Y'all can see the coppers in there. We'll give you a little close-up of that later. But there's those two. We've got our limb line weights. We'll see how those hold up. That's going to be a little testing on those. But you can see the hole in them. What I can say is some of these were shorter. I made them different sizes. The taller one in concrete, this is about 2.5 inches. This one would actually be better for a limb line because it's about the right limb line weight. But I think all of them will work. Got our solo cups. These I know will work because I've been using them for a lot of years already. pretty nice ones there. We've got our God's chicken cup here. Oh, Chick-fil-A. And that one's gotta be easy to get off of there. Look at there. And you're gonna have a little bit of this fiber up here. It ain't gonna hurt nothing to leave it. You can pull it out or cut it or just leave it. It ain't gonna matter. Should help the concrete hold together better. Those are in tight. Everything looks good on them. It'll have a little bit of wear and some of these edges will come off a little bit. But look at there. It even says Chick-fil-A right there from the impression. So we know that one's gonna catch some fish. Right there. Got the old Fanta drink. 2 liters. I went ahead and cut the back of that to save time on the video. So I could rip that one off there. Look at there. Now that one would be better for that one, and these pipe ones, the bigger pipe ones would be better for like stretching a net open or something like that. I wouldn't want nothing this heavy on a headline, but I tell you what, that made a heck of a weight right there. So all of them did good. I'm just showing you some different things. We actually just got to looking around and said, you know what, everything we can get, we can make some out of. We'll make them, just see how they turn out. There's the 3-inch PVC. I'm not even, I guess you could try to push that out. We didn't spray the inside of this. I'm not even worried about it. That's a weight right there. That PVC is not going anywhere. It'll actually help hold, it won't have any wear on the sides of it. So that may be one of the better ways to do it, is just some thin wall PVC pipe. If you can't find your window weights, I've had people ask me, where can I get some window weights? Guess what? There's a homemade one right there with an eye bolt in it. Alright, y'all can see we had some pretty good weights turned out. Just an old Coke bottle. If you want to do a little bit fancier, this was 3-inch PVC pipe. You could use 2-inch PVC pipe for some this size, and they would hold better as far as not coming apart years down the road. Alright, maybe I showed y'all a few things on this. I needed some new weights for my nets anyways. That's going to be it for this one. God's Country Hunting Fishing, keeping it real.